All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into The Miracle Morning, a book built on a pretty radical idea that how you spend the first hour of your day doesn't just kickstart it, it can literally change your entire life.
But here's the thing, this story doesn't start at the top. Not at all. It starts with a feeling of complete desperation, being totally overwhelmed and having no idea how to move forward. A feeling I think a lot of us can relate to. And that's a huge question, right? How do you claw your way back when it feels like you've got nothing left? For the author, Hal Elrod, looking for an answer to this question led him to a discovery that would change, well, everything. So let's set the scene. It's 2008. Years after surviving this horrific car crash that almost killed him, Hal Elrod finds himself hitting a second rock bottom. And this one, he says, was even worse than being pronounced clinically dead. The U.S. economy had just tanked, and his income basically vanished overnight. He was drowning in debt, battling a deep depression, and some days he couldn't even find the energy to get out of bed. His life was just a complete mess, mentally, emotionally, and financially. So, feeling totally lost, he takes a friend's advice. Now, Hal hated running, but he laced up his shoes one morning anyway, just hoping it would help clear his head. And that one decision, well, it was a game changer. As he's running, he's listening to this personal development audio by the speaker Jim Rohn, and then boom, one idea, one single sentence hits him with so much force that he literally stops in his tracks. This one thought would become the foundation for his entire comeback. This was the lightning bolt moment. He had this massive realization. We all want level 10 success, right? In our health, our finances, our relationships. But he realized his own level of personal development was maybe a 2 or a 3 at best. To get level 10 results, he first had to become a level 10 person. And this is the core concept right here. His problems weren't really out there. They were a reflection of what was going on in here. He figured out that to fix his life, he had to dedicate time every single day to fixing himself. So, with this new fire lit under him, Hal runs home totally committed. He decides he's going to carve out 1 hour every single morning, from 5 to 6 a.m., and dedicate it to his personal development. A time before the rest of the world, with all its distractions and excuses, could get in his way. But the question was, what do you actually do in that hour? So he cherry-picked 6 of the most powerful practices he'd ever learned and mashed them into one routine. Instead of chaos, he'd start with purposeful silence. He'd use affirmations to reprogram his thinking for success. He'd use visualization, seeing his goals as already done. He'd do some light exercise to get his energy up. He'd read just a few pages to learn something new. And finally, he'd scribe or journal to get his thoughts out. He called them the Life S.A.V.E.R.S. And you know what? The very first morning he did it, he felt energized and excited like a kid on Christmas. The impact wasn't just noticeable, it was immediate. The results were, well, pretty dramatic. The results were just staggering. In less than 2 months of doing this every day, his deep depression, it just vanished. He felt focused, energized, and his income, it didn't just recover, it more than doubled, blowing past what he was making before the crash. It really did feel like a miracle. So of course, he starts sharing this routine with his coaching clients. And get this, one client, Katie, who swore up and down she was not a morning person, tried it once at 6 a.m. and was so blown away that she voluntarily started waking up at 5 a.m. for the rest of the week. And then things started to get really interesting. The idea spread beyond his own network. A guy named Joe Diasana, someone Hal had never even met, posts this YouTube video at 5:41 on a Sunday morning, just raving about his miracle morning. A global community was basically building itself. Okay, so why does all this matter so much? The book really frames it as a choice between just settling for an average life and consciously designing the life you actually want to live. Hal points to this really sobering statistic from the Social Security Administration. About 95% of us will struggle through life, never really getting the freedom or fulfillment that we truly want. Let's just break that down because it's pretty shocking. Imagine 100 people. By the time they reach retirement age, only about 5 of them are financially secure. The other 95 are either still forced to work or they're broke and dependent on others. And the book argues this isn't just about money, it's about settling for less in every area of life. And that brings us right back to the main point. See, the miracle morning isn't really about waking up early. That's just the mechanism. It's about waking up to your own potential. It's about setting aside time to become the kind of person who can create that level 10 life you deserve in your health, happiness, finances, all of it.
The message is simple. You take control of your morning, you take control of your day, you take control of your days, and you take control of your life. So the only question left is, where are you going to steer your rudder tomorrow?